This is Marian Triano. I am speaking today with Beverly Haberman, a 20-year veteran looking at interpersonal relationships and mentoring processes, also working for the Option Institute in Sheffield, Massachusetts. Beverly, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer questions today.
Oh, thank you so much. This is wonderful.
You've been working truly with interpersonal relationships for such a long time. How did your interest in the area begin?
My interest in people, my interest in understanding people has been probably my whole life. I remember back when I was 7 years old, I had a little friend who had just come from Hungary and she didn't speak a word of English. And so I would sit after school on the stoop in front of our building and teach her English. How could we communicate? And that continued. You know, I was in junior high school and, we'd be at a party and everybody else was horsing around and having a great time. I'd be in the corner talking to somebody and trying to listen to what they had to say because I was so interested and so curious. And then it continued until I got this job and this work at the Option Institute. And so now I mentor people, I listen to people, I teach them the tools on how to become happier and change their beliefs. And basically, I'm listening to people all day, which is like the best suited thing for me in my life.
Fantastic. Do you know, it's an interesting thing. I hear you say that, and yet I recognize that interpersonal relationships are typically, as you said, built on interpersonal communication. Why is it then so difficult for two people just trying to talk to each other? Why is it that sometimes it feels so difficult for them to communicate?
Great question. And I would say there are several answers for that question. The first is two people very often have different views of the same situation. Something happened. One person sees what happened one way. The other person sees what happened another way. For instance, I do a lot of sessions with couples, and this would be the kind of thing I might hear. The wife says, when your mother came over last week, she was telling me I was a bad parent. And not only that, you took her side. Husband says, she didn't say that at all. She didn't say you were a bad parent. She said it would be good if you did a time out with the kids. And I definitely wasn't taking her side against you. So I'm listening to two people. I know that there was an event. If I had had a videotape, it would have been wonderful to see the event. But what I'm hearing is, I'm hearing two events. I'm not hearing one event. So that's the first thing that happens, and it happens very, very often. The second thing that happens from that is they come to the conclusion, I'm right, you're wrong. That I'm right, you're wrong is the crux of the problem. Then I dig my heels in and I get self-righteous about my position. And then I get angry at you because you don't see that I'm right and you're wrong. But the other person is also thinking they're right and you're wrong. So that is a key thing that happens. And it's tremendous resistance on both parts. There's actually a third thing that I think we do, and I say we, as many people as I know, we all do it 24/7. We do not understand the other person's intentions. We make assumptions about why they're saying what they're saying, why they're doing what they're doing. For example, two people go to a party. They're a couple. They've been in a relationship for a long time. The woman starts putting ice cream onto her plate. Her partner looks at her and says, "What are you doing? Why are you eating all that ice cream?" And he's saying it really loud and other people can hear. She gets furious and she takes him to the side and says, "How dare you humiliate me like that?" And telling me that I shouldn't be doing this. And why did you do that? And he says, "I thought that's what you wanted me to do. You said, whenever I see you eating something, I know you're wanting to lose weight. You said, tell me about it. And that will remind me not to do it. So I told you about it. I thought I was helping, not understanding the other person's intentions. So we frame it first as this is really a fact. You're really humiliating me. And then we get really angry about it. And we don't think it's an assumption. We think it's true. It's not true. It's just your perception in that moment. So those three things. We see things differently from different viewpoints. I'm right, you're wrong. We don't understand the other person's intention. What happens from that is our emotions run really high. We get angry, we get frustrated, we get scared. And if we're frustrated, angry, or scared, we're not clear. So anything we say isn't going to be clear. Plus, let's say you're angry and you're coming at somebody with this rage. They're not going to want to hear you. And let's say you're scared. You might say, I'm not even going to talk about this. I'm just going to shut it down. Then they'll never hear you. So I would say these are the fundamentals.
Yeah, it makes every bit of sense. So the work you do actually helps people move from there to articulate the beliefs they have and kind of what they're basing their attitudes and actions on, what they're thinking. Can you tell me how that works?
Yes. And maybe the first thing to understand is the beliefs that we hold, the way we look at the world, and those thoughts, those perceptions, those beliefs create every experience of our life. So for instance, if I hold the belief that I'm really smart and I'm attractive and I'm great with people and I make friends easily, I can handle things, I'm going to feel pretty good about myself. I'm going to feel happy, I'm going to feel confident, I'm going to love life. If on the other hand, I hold beliefs, there's something wrong with me, I'm not okay, I'm not very attractive, I'm a little bit stupid, people usually don't like me and I usually can't handle things very well, I'm going to be moving through life unhappy, feeling not very confident, making myself small, and all of my responses come from those beliefs. So at the Option Institute, what we teach is a model called stimulus belief response, which you know about. And the stimulus belief response model enables us to change how we view the world. So I'll explain it this way. The three words, stimulus. So stimulus is, according to our interpretation, stimulus is anything we're focusing on. So any event could be I'm focusing on a migraine, could be I'm focusing on a stomach ache, could be I'm focusing on somebody talking to me. Right now, you and your listeners are focusing on me. So I'm the stimulus for that, for you and the listener. Then we have beliefs. And the beliefs are our conclusions about the stimulus. It's our perception of the stimulus. In this example, there'll be people out there who are going to say, wow, this woman's really great. I really love what she's saying. There are going to be people out there who say, this is such a waste of my time. I'm not going to stay on this thing one more second. What we believe is how we're going to experience our world. So then we have responses. Happy, sad, excited, depressed, anxious, fearful, angry, gracious, gratitude. And we also have responses that are behaviors. I hug somebody, I kiss somebody, I yell at somebody, I slam the door, I stomp away. So all of our responses come from our beliefs. For example, we use the example of rain. It's raining outside. It's a fact. The farmer down the road who hasn't had rain in a month looks at the rain and gets so excited for his crops and for his income and for his livelihood. So he's very excited about the rain because he's believing, his belief, the rain is good. This is a good thing. Then there's the woman who's got her wedding. Today it's raining and she has an outdoor wedding with no canopy. This is not good to have rain. This is bad. So the rain is now so bad. She feels depressed, she's angry, she's sad, she's miserable. The fact is, the rain didn't do any of that. The stimulus has no intrinsic value to hurt you or help you. The stimulus is neutral, but our beliefs interpret the stimulus. It's like we're going around all day long with glasses on. The glasses are lenses. We filter everything through these lenses. This is good for me. This is bad for me. We look at everything like that, and we do this 24/7. So what we do at the Option Institute is we learn how to identify the belief. We learn how to change the belief so that it supports and nourishes our life.
Beautiful. Thank you. When you began to work in this particular fashion, you did so by working through your own beliefs first. Can you tell us a bit about that? What was it like? How did it impact your life?
Well, that's a great question. There were many areas where I looked at my beliefs, but I'm going to tell you about two. When I started this work, I was very, very self-judgmental, which means I was calling myself bad, wrong, stupid, I wasn't enough, I wasn't okay. And I did this nonstop. And I had been doing it my whole life up until I came here. What happened was I became very small in my life because I was afraid. I was afraid to shine. I was afraid to do anything because I was thinking, I won't be okay. I'm not good. I'm not smart enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. And so when I started doing this work, I learned what we call the option process dialogue. And that process, the dialogue process, is the key to changing your belief. So I just started doing lots and lots of dialogues with myself and with other people. People would help me, and I would be able to explore and think about what was going on. The thing about the dialogue that makes it very, very useful is you're asking yourself questions from a completely non-judgmental place. That means you're accepting yourself, you're okay with yourself, you're loving yourself, and you're not judging yourself. So you can ask yourself questions and find, what are those beliefs? I would usually find someone to do the questions for me because that's how I like to do the dialogue. And so I did dozens and dozens and dozens of dialogues on this subject. With each dialogue, I saw a piece of the puzzle. I saw there were multiple beliefs. There wasn't just one belief that contributed to why I thought that I wasn't okay. It came down to, I learned this. I learned this as a way to take care of myself. I hadn't realized that there was another way. And I was believing there really was something wrong with me. And through the dialogues, I came to see it absolutely was not so. There was nothing wrong with me. Not only that, there was never anything wrong with me. So through all that process, I came out being able to drop my judgment and move and open and really blossom in my life in a way I didn't even know was possible. Even the work I do now, I didn't even know was possible that I could do that. And had I kept judging myself, I wouldn't have been able to do it. It would have made it impossible. The second place that I had a really big problem was with anger. I had a very quick temper, and I would go into a rage like that, and it would be hot and big and like an explosion. And so a lot of people laugh, and they think, oh, no, you didn't do that. I said, yes, you can ask my husband. And so what I learned through all those dialogues, and I did many, many, was I was trying to be powerful. I was trying to control my life. I was trying to get people to do things for me. And I was trying to basically show people I am serious about this. When I started seeing why I did it, I thought, well, that doesn't make sense. I don't have to do that. And I was making myself so miserable by trying to do this way. It was so miserable that I put the pieces together. And again, I was able to just stop. Did I do that in one day? No, but I did it. I did it over time. And so both of those have been put to rest.
That's fantastic. It's interesting. It brings up an issue that I think is true for so many of us. And that is that people use criticism and judgments and, as you said, anger to try to get what they want in a relationship. I mean, we use it as a device to try to get what we want. They're hoping to change their partner, they're hoping to change their friend or their coworker or their family member. So what do you think of a strategy like that? I mean, given what you've been through, what's that about?
Well, here's the thing. It's a common thing we do. We were taught to do it. Frankly, we see it everywhere. We see it in the news. We see it with politicians. We see it with our parents. We see it everywhere. So we accept it as a way of life. That's part of it. The thing about it is it doesn't work. And when I say it doesn't work to create the kind of relationship where two people understand each other, two people are loving of each other, and you actually can get more of what you want. You wind up actually with criticism and judgment, you wind up usually not getting what you want. The person who's being criticized wants to move away from you. They don't want to get closer to you. So they get more resistant.
Okay. And you know, because it's so common and because people have used it so much, I'm trying to think of what the alternatives might be. So for someone who has no familiarity with the approach that you use, they've never done this before, they've never really thought about a belief stimulus response kind of system, what do you suggest that they could try today after watching this for their next conversation if they're criticized by someone or they feel the impulse to criticize, if they're looking at this from a negative perspective? What could they do today, right after watching this?
Okay, well, I'll break it down to two things because we'll do if somebody's criticizing you and if you want to criticize others. So if somebody's criticizing you, you got to remember we don't know why they're doing that. They have a reason. They haven't told us the reason. We know what they're criticizing us about. You didn't hand in the report on time. Then they call you lazy. Or we know what they're saying, but we don't know why they're talking to us this way. So we can go in like a curious Martian. Martian comes to the Earth and says, I don't know what an Earthling is. I wonder what they do. I wonder how they talk. I wonder why they say what they say. So if someone's criticizing you and maybe even getting angry with you, instead of going into the mode of, how dare they, or are you getting angry, wow, I wonder why they're doing that. I'd love to understand this. I mean, I'm really a curious Martian. I wonder why they're saying this to me in this way. Now, if you have that attitude, you can approach somebody. That I would say that would be step number one. The other thing about it is if you have that, you don't take it on for yourself. If the other person is criticizing you, it does not mean there's something wrong with you. It does not mean you're not okay. What it means is they're thinking this. And so in that moment, if you can remember, this is not about you right now. This is about them. They're thinking something about you. Just like I said before, if someone is listening and thinking, that woman should really dye her hair, she really looks awful, then you think, okay, that's what they're thinking. I like the way this looks. Great. They can do that. And they can even say it to me. That's fine. I can understand them and maybe ask them a question why they think that. So that'd be step number one. The reverse, you want to criticize somebody else. First thing is check in with yourself. The moment you want to criticize somebody or get angry with someone, you know how it feels. You get turned up, you get really tight inside. Take a breath, say, okay, why am I doing this? And then think, I'd love to understand this person. Give you an example. So for instance, I can't tell you how common this story is. I don't care if it's the garage or the garbage or what. Your partner says they're going to do the chores on Saturday morning, and they don't. So week after week after week, they don't do it. And then you get angry and you blow up. And the more you blow up, the more they don't do it. So then you decide one day, I'm going to understand them. I'm not going to blow up this time. I'm not going to criticize them. I'm not going to judge them. I wonder why he's doing that. I wonder why week after week he says he's going to do it and then he doesn't do it. I'm a curious Martian. I have no idea. I could make up ideas, but then I just get myself angry. So what if I just went in and I wonder why he's doing that. Now, one thing you got to know about this is if you get peaceful and you use the idea that you want to understand the other person and you're comfortable, you can ask for what you want and you're more likely to get it. Because if you're comfortable and you're peaceful and you're not judging the person, they don't feel like they're being attacked. With that said, there's no guarantee you're going to get it. It could be they're going to say, I'm still not going to do it. So then you got the choice. I can yell and try to go for what I want. Maybe sometimes get it, but most of the time not. Or I could be peaceful and approach it with, I'm going to try to understand what's going on and ask them a simple question from a very easy, accepting place. I might get it, I might not. Which is more valuable to me? Is it more valuable for me to yell and scream and be critical? Or is it more valuable for me to be loving and accepting? And that's the choice we all make. There's no right and wrong in this answer, by the way. I've done dialogues with people and they come away and they decide it's still to their benefit to be angry. And I've done dialogues with people, most people, who say the cost is too great. Me and my relationship, we don't get closer ever. We get further apart. I want to get closer. So they choose the more understanding, more accepting place because that's more valuable. But we get to decide which is more valuable for us.
And then I guess at the end of the day, what you think about is that if you don't get what you want, that's still just a stimulus, right?
Beautiful. That's right. That's just the stimulus. Exactly. And what we teach at the Option Institute, which is opposite than what most of the world is doing, is that when we don't get what we want, we can still feel good. Our happiness is not attached to getting what we want, which enables us to go for what we want even more because our happiness is not attached to getting.
Nice. Beautiful. Beautiful. You know, you've given us so much information, but there are so many ways of diving into this. Yeah. There are so many different avenues that you can take to grow and to learn about these kinds of things. I really think listeners might benefit from understanding how to get more information. Exactly how do they dive into these kinds of strategies, into this kind of an understanding? What can they read? Where would they go? You know, what else is available?
Okay, great question. An awful lot is available at the Option Institute Learning and Training Center website. And that website is www.option.org. And that's option with no S. You get on the site, there's tons of stuff, but I'm going to direct you to 3 that I think would be the best foundation. When you get on the site, to the left of the home page, there's something called the Happiness Hits. And the Happiness Hits are a series of about a dozen videos, 3 to 5 minutes long, where subjects like the ones I spoke about are explained in even more depth with examples in a beautiful way by both Barry Neal Kaufman, co-founder of the Institute, and Ron Kaufman. They explain it in a way that's so easy to digest. So go onto the Happiness Hits. The other is, if you go to the navigation bar, there's a little icon that says Store. And click on Store, and you're going to get the choice of Option Indigo or Option Institute. Both are stores. Both have great stuff. As a beginning, go to Option Indigo. Click on Happiness as a Choice. That's the book I would recommend first. It's a book that Barry Neal Kaufman wrote about beliefs, how they operate, about how we choose them, about how we can choose differently. It's a book where he explains the shortcuts to how do we stop judging? How do we stop blaming? How do we find a place of gratitude inside ourselves? All of the essentials that would enable two people to listen to each other and have a conversation. All of the basics that would explain ways to do what I just explained. There's a second book I'm going to recommend, And also you will find that under option Indigo, it's called To Love is to Be Happy With. And that book explains the dialogue process. There are sample dialogues in there. You get information on how the dialogue is structured. We call it the gift of a question, the attitude behind it, and all the areas in our life, from money to sexual experience to the therapeutic relationship to regular, just plain relationships, to our attitude towards children, are all explained within the context of how do you use the option process dialogue to change our beliefs. So I think if people just did those three things, they're simple. The two books cost $20 together. The videos are really accessible. I think it would be a quick and easy way to get a really strong foundation.
Oh, that's super. Thank you so much, Beverly. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I've been here with Beverly Haberman, a 20-year veteran in the mentoring and the option dialogue process and in interpersonal relationships. And I so much value and appreciate your time. I'm here from www.stressband.com. It's Marian Triano. And once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was a pleasure.